How do I do it all? The Brezza gives me the power.
Fourth meets ninth on the IPL points table. For most of the history of this competition, when these two teams have collided, it would be Chennai Super Kings sitting at the top and Punjab Kings towards the bottom. But the story has been far from that so far in the early exchanges of this season. You have CSK, who with a defeat could go down to one win in the first five, and they come up against the Punjab Kings, who are trying to find home at home in Mullanpur. We build up to that game even as we keep an eye on a thriller at the Eden Gardens. Welcome to Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout. We're in the continuing company of Wasim, Jaffer, Piyush Chawla, Matt Roller. Gentlemen, lots of excitement about what's happening at Eden, but we'll hold that in and build up to what is already, Wasim, quite an important fixture for CSK. You don't want to be 1 in 5.
Yeah, things are not looking great for CSK. So they need to turn it around and turn it around pretty quickly. They are up against a very good team who's playing good cricket, even though they're coming, both the teams actually coming from a defeat. But Punjab are looking a little more stronger compared to CSK.
Yeah, it's so unlike CSK, isn't it, Piyush? They've already used 17 players. They've used 7 overseas players. How bad are their problems, and can it really be turned around quickly?
Well, to be very honest, it looks difficult at the moment because the top order is not firing. The middle order is not looking good. The bowlers are struggling. When you play at Chennai, you expect your 3 quality spinners to bowl 12 overs for you. That is not happening. So there are all the things which are not going in Chennai's way, but they know how to turn it around. But this year, the team is not looking that balanced at the moment.
Yeah, and it's so strange. For so long, that one constant that used to be that, oh, this is a tournament where 7 teams or 9 teams compete to decide who plays CSK in the playoffs. And yet you look at the last 4-5 seasons, the low, hot and cold, the cold seasons have been rather cold, and this could yet be the coldest.
Yeah, they have. There's been a couple of poor campaigns in there, obviously affected somewhat by the COVID pandemic and not necessarily having that home advantage. I think Stephen Fleming's been quite vocal already this season about maybe finding conditions quite hard to read at home, so maybe going up to Mullanpur where obviously Punjab have a pretty poor record so far in the short history of playing at that venue. Might end up suiting them, but yeah, it has been interesting. I think actually last time there was a mega auction as well, they struggled immediately after that. I think the 22 season where they finished 8th or 9th. So I don't know whether it's maybe Chennai have lost some of their magic juice or whatever it is after those mega auctions, because usually they seem to recruit players and they thrive in a way they haven't at their previous teams. But it just feels like something's not quite right with the ingredients this year, but it's a long tournament and we're still early days.
Agree with that notion? The magic juice?
Well, it looks like that at the moment, at least. Because if you see the middle order, middle order plays a big role. And Shivam Dube, who has been a critical part for this team, who's been scoring runs, and he was making look things easy for CSK. So if he's not firing, then who's going to take that responsibility? Because you don't see any other player apart from him who can really take on against the spinners.
Quite the challenge then for CSK this season if they're hoping to turn things around. First, right now you've got the Punjab Kings, who too have their own challenge, because Mullanpur, which has become their home base since 2024, is a venue they've played 6 games in and they've won once. Quite comprehensive a defeat to Rajasthan Royals in that last outing. How much did it take away from what they'd achieved in the first 2 games for you?
Well, I mean, Shreyas Iyengar's wicket was a major blow in that chase. Had he not played that shot on the hindsight, things would have been different because he would have played the spinners much better. But saying that, 50 runs defeat is a big defeat. And for some reason, it looked like, boundary was tough to come by on that ground. So we'll have to wait and see. But this team actually looks more balanced, under Shreyas and Ponting. So I expect them, to have a lot more wins than what they have.
Can confirm that Punjab Kings have won the toss against the Chennai Super Kings and they have elected to bat first in Mullanpur. We'll bring team news in just a bit. But when you consider that first game we saw in Mullanpur, Piyush, is it fair to say Punjab misread the conditions because Rajasthan spinners enjoyed a lot of success? And while you're on that, do those conditions bring CSK spinners into the picture in this game?
Well, you want to back your strengths, and we all know the strength of Punjab this year is their batting. So they want to put that big runs on the board. Maybe they could have read the conditions not that great, but these things do happen. You coming and playing the first game in your home ground, and which is like not exactly, this is like not too many games they've played on this ground. So I feel now it's the right thing to do, like win the toss, bat first, and put those big runs, because we all know 180 plus score if you do against Chennai, they struggle to chase that down.
I actually wonder how much of that decision is about conditions versus how much of it is against the opposition, because Chennai have chased in every game this year. Even the first game where they won, they looked pretty sluggish getting going in that chase, and then since then it's been a real struggle for them. So I wonder, obviously you'd make some decisions based on conditions, but you'd also probably, you can tell me if I'm wrong, Wasim, but you'd look at what the opposition are good at and think, well, these guys aren't chasing anything at the moment, let's get some runs on the board.
Yeah, I mean, looking at that batting order, Chennai, Rachin and Rutu looks like the only one. If they fire, Chennai is going to have some chance. Conway is pretty new. He doesn't look like he's playing as well as he did a few seasons ago. Shivam Dube we talked about. Jadeja hasn't been at his best. Dhoni, he doesn't come early. So things are obviously not looking great. Tripathi, Huda, they've given. They've kind of lost faith in those two players. So, yeah, it's an uphill task for them.
And even if there is something, even if the conditions are on the slower side in Mullanpur, that in itself is a double-edged sword for CSK at the moment. They have a few spinners who are not in the greatest form, and they have a lot of batters who have struggled against spin.
Well, generally at Mullanpur you get this kind of surface only. It's not very slow, and you have to have skillful bowler in your side to get something out of the pitch. It's not that it's a slow wicket, so any spinner will come and bowl. So, and the way Ashwin is bowling at the moment, he has bowled somewhere around 92% of carom ball, which is not a stock ball. And we have seen that few years back as well, when Ashwin was bowling a lot of carom balls. And later, when he started bowling those traditional off spin, he was much more effective. So let's see what he has up his sleeves today. And on the other side, if you talk about the spinners of Punjab, they are also not looking in best of the form.
All right, let's start digging deeper. And it is Chennai's batting, which has been focused. Early days in the season, but there's not a lot to write home about. And as this graphic will point to you, 10th across all parameters. That's run rate so far, power play run rate so far, middle overs run rate, opening partnership average, and wickets lost to spin. The last two defeats chasing at their fortress, and just how tame those chases were.
Yeah, that has been the most disappointing factor for me. They kind of giving up the chase, around 11th, 12th over, not looking to chase down, just batting out the overs. That's very unlike CSK. So that has been the most disappointing, especially to their fans who are so loyal. They come in big numbers, and to see, a powerhouse team playing that brand of cricket, that has been the most disappointing factor.
Numbers reflect an over-dependence on the top three?
Yeah, well, there's not a lot to cling to there, is there? If you look at those metrics, 10th, 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 it's pretty ugly stuff. And yeah, I think obviously they made the big call last time to change the opening combination. I think the one thing that has been so surprising for me with CSK this year is the speed at which they've ditched a couple of players in Tripathi, Huda, to a lesser extent Sam Curran. I think you can understand it a bit more with overseas combination, but someone like Tripathi, I think they could have given a really long rope to. Be interested to see what they've gone with selection-wise tonight.
Yeah, I think it is the same team, but we will confirm that in just a bit. When you consider all the problems in the batting, is there a need for the entire batting order to just ramp up the intent and aggression?
Yeah, totally. It's about the intent, because as Wasim bhai just mentioned, you can't give up the chase in 11th or 12th over. You have to take it to the deep and you just play your shots, because when you're playing on a wicket like this and where the required run rate is somewhere around 10, so you make sure you're maintaining that run rate, because no matter how the wicket is, because the other team has also done the same. So it's just a matter of intent, because these are the same players who have won trophies for them.
The concern is, do those personnel still have it in them? Because when it comes to, if say we consider the struggle against spin or the struggle of amping up, when you look at that middle order, Vijay Shankar has been troubled for a while. Jadeja and Dhoni's troubles against spin are well documented.
Yeah, I mean, the top three needs to do bulk of the scoring. And obviously, they can't do it every game. But for some reason, if they need to turn it around, Rachin, Conway and Ruturaj are your best bet. And then, the entry points also, you are bringing Dhoni in number 10 overs and things like that, because you're losing wickets. So the top three needs to play most of the overs with that intent.
Is it you are bringing in Dhoni or Dhoni is bringing in Dhoni, going by what Fleming said earlier in the season?
Dhoni had to come. I mean, he had no choice. Given the choice, he would have come a lot later. But yeah, I mean, he had to come after 5 down.
Is there anything funky they can do with their batting order to find a facelift?
I personally don't think so. I would be considering, as I said, bringing Chapati back in just because I think he can be a destructive player. But I think one of the keys, as well as obviously top order runs, if they don't get those top order runs, I think Dubé has such a big role. If you look at the team, you've mentioned the players there that have struggled against spin generally in the IPL. Dubé has been one of the best 6-hitters, in my opinion, against spin for pretty much an entire auction cycle over the last 3 years. And because of the fact he's not managed to score runs, it has exposed those weaknesses against spin of other players, I think. Whereas if you can get him batting in partnership with someone, it's a different question altogether.
Yes, an intriguing nugget around Shivam Dubé. His numbers in the IPL, up until the point India's T20 World Cup squad was announced, and what's happened ever since, and it's continued. CSK need that to change, don't they? But let's confirm team news, and we'll start with Punjab. Let's see how they are lining up. The hosts go unchanged. They are batting first, which means Priyansh Arya, who was on the bench last time around, will start, and they retain the rest of the combination. No Harpreet Brar on the impact bench either.
I think the interesting one there, given that's a batting first team, is that Shedgir is on the bench, which to me suggests that maybe we might see Vaishak come in and bowl at the death again. It may be a slightly different balance just because it feels like they have batted incredibly deep so far. And Shedgir's hardly been used actually to the extent that he's been pushing Jansen even further down the order than he needs to be. That still looks like a deep batting lineup to me, despite the fact you've lost a batter from it. So I think that looks a better balanced team in my opinion. I don't know if you guys agree there.
No, I agree with Matt. Like if Jansen is batting at number 8 for you, it means you have quite a decent batting lineup, and the batters are in form. We have seen Prabh Simran getting runs, we have seen Priyansh Arya getting runs. Then Shreyas Iyer is doing well. So all the batters are doing their role pretty well. That's why they are sitting, in the top 4 of the table, because the role has been given to the players and they are doing it really well.
Would you have wanted the option of Harpreet Brar?
Well, to be very honest, not required, because the way the bowling lineup has turned up, and we have not seen much of a help for the spinners. Even Yuzvendra is not looking in the best of the form. So you want to try, sometimes you get tempted, but you can't really take Yuzvendra Chahal out of the equation, and he's somebody who has been the best wicket taker in the IPL history, and they are not thinking to go with 2 spinners, so I think don't need that.
You imagine Vaishak comes in?
Yeah, I mean, there's Yash Thakur as well, so he could be that option. But yeah, I mean, Vaishak, what he did, it's unfortunate that he didn't get another game time after that. To come in and bowl those, brilliant overs. But Yuzi's form, I feel, is going to be very critical, because he's the main guy in that lineup who's going to bowl 4 overs. Maxi can bowl few depending on the situation, but Yuzi has to turn up in that bowling lineup.
Yeah, hold that thought, because it is worth spending some time on Chahal and his significance to the Punjab bowling mix. But let's confirm CSK's lineup, and can tell you that it is indeed unchanged, which is new for this season. Chennai are not making any changes. Good old CSK are back. They are chasing, so you'd imagine Shivam Dubé is the likely impact batter coming in the second innings, which means they persist with Mukesh Chaudhary, who had a tough first outing.
Well, it do happen to any player in the first outing when you go out there, but you have to give in a long run to any player for that matter, and especially in this format as a bowler. He bowls with the new ball, he bowls in these long overs, so it's not an easy job. And if you're losing the games, it doesn't mean you have to chop and change every game. So sometimes you have to fix it to that playing 11, and you have to continue with that for 2-3 games at least.
I don't love the balance, just that I would prefer to have Chapati in there, I think, but I can also see the argument that at this stage, when you've made so many changes early in the season, it might actually be better just to stick with what you've got to try and get back that culture of backing players. I'm sure, Wasim, you would have been part of dressing rooms where I suppose that big challenge is trying to liberate players and give them that freedom to attack. And if they're then feeling like they're going to get dropped if they don't perform, it's very hard to marry that mindset up with what's happening in selection. So I think maybe it's a good move just to have stuck with the same team just for a period of time now.
Yeah, I mean, CSK is one of those teams who give long rope to the players. It's very surprising what they've done this season. Very unlike CSK where they've used 17 players. They would have taken Tripathi and Deepak Hooda. They've been disappointed with their returns. I feel, they went with that mindset that these guys going to do the job in the middle overs, which hasn't happened. And that's probably the reason they've gone this way. And there's no replacement for Dubey. So, they are in that crisis because of, obviously, the form plays such an important role.
Yeah, it had been a breeding ground for a lot of resurrections for players who may have had a few quiet years in the recent past. Not worked out yet. Let's see if that changes. But in Mullanpur, given the conditions, given that we have Piyush Chawla here with us today, we are going to talk as much spin as we can. So I want you to shed light on just what you've made of Ravi Ashwin and Ravindra Jadeja and the kind of starts they've had to this season.
Well, we both know, as far as I know about both of them, they are not like a genuine wicket takers. They are somebody who can bowl really tight lines, and they create that pressure for the other bowlers to pick up wickets. So that is not happening. They are not getting the wickets. They are leaking a bit of runs. So it's not creating that pressure for the other bowlers to come to the party. So I think it's very important to think from that point of view. When you come in and that tactic is not working for you, then you feel as a bowler, okay, I'll do something different and I'll go all out to pick up wickets. Because if you notice both of them, they're just coming in and bowling those quick fire overs and they want to just close the overs. That's not really going to work in favor of you when the other bowlers are not doing well, especially the faster bowlers.
Are they too defensive in their minds?
Yeah, that's what I exactly mean. They're not going for the wickets. You have to go for the wickets sometimes.
And to see Jadeja having bowled only 10 overs in 4 games,
yeah, I
quite
mean,
an offside.
We've seen, batters, left-handers especially, going after him, and as soon as that happens, he doesn't finish his quota. So, there's Nehal Vadera in that lineup, Priyan Sharia, depending how long he bats. So that can happen again. Noor is very, very critical, and Ashwin's reluctance to bowl off spin. Those are the factors where they don't pick up wickets in the middle overs. If the conditions are suited to their style of bowling, and that's where, everything depends on Noor.
It is a lineup they're coming up against which has a fair few batters who enjoy going hard against spin. Shreyas Iyer in recent years, Prabhsimran Singh if he stays around, and then lower down the order as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can throw Glenn Maxwell into that mix. I know he's obviously a bit of a mercurial player when it comes to IPL. He's dismissed cheaply quite often, but when he gets going, he can be incredibly destructive against spin. But yeah, just to speak to what Piyush was saying, I think Ashwin's actually had a quiet couple of years now in the IPL because his economy last year, 8.5 for Rajasthan, which was okay in the broader context of the league, but he only took 9 wickets across the season, only 3 wickets so far this year. It feels like he's, I don't know, there is that element of it being a very much a defensive mindset and trying to sort of hold off one end to create wicket-taking opportunities last year for Yuzi Chahal, this year for Noor Ahmed. But yeah, I'm interested to hear your thoughts there on the idea that he should bowl more off breaks especially.
Well, now he has to go for wickets because last year we have seen, okay, he was creating the pressure and as you mentioned, his economy was 8.5. But this year his economy is also on the higher side. And keeping that in mind when you are playing at Chennai. Chennai is one of the venues which is best suited for the spinners. And if your economy is high there as well, so it means there is something wrong.
Correct. When we look at the other side, Yuzvendra Chahal too, and he's had quite a good last few seasons. What do you put his slowish start to this season down to?
Well, as you mentioned, good few seasons. Last 3 seasons he has picked up 60 plus wicket, which is a big number. So that can happen to any player. When you're having such a good season going on back to back, and one season when you come in, you're coming to a new team. Maybe the role is different here. When he was at Rajasthan, his role must have been different, that he doesn't have to think too much about, he just want to attack all the time. But here, he's the main bowler. He has to, pick up wickets also, attack also, and not conceding too many runs. He's the only spinner who's playing with Glenn Maxwell, who's also doing the job. So I think he'll get into the groove soon because he's a quality bowler and we know what he's capable of. And the best thing about his bowling is that he goes for wicket, he attacks most of the time.
Is there something in wanting or enjoying bowling when you have another spinner? He was with Ashwin in the last few seasons. Ashwin playing a containing role. Doesn't have another spinner necessarily here other than what overs of Maxwell they use.
Yeah, that do play a big role sometimes, when you don't have a spinner from the other end who can actually create that pressure. and where you enjoy that success. We only talk about partnership in batting, but bowling also actually plays a big role in partnership. If you're creating pressure from one side, I can give you one example. The best example of Trent Bolt was very successful when he was playing with Bumrah, because Bumrah was the one who used to create pressure and Trent Bolt used to get the wicket. But this is not happening here in the Punjab setup at the moment.
You happy with the rest of Punjab's bowling and how it's shaping so far? They are going seam heavy.
Yeah, I mean, Lockie has done really well. They would expect Arshdeep to pick up wickets up front. That's his job. Janssen could be more effective, with the way he bowls. He's been a little bit hot and cold. It's still early days, but they would expect these two guys to turn up, and Yuzi obviously, because he's the main guy in the middle overs. Maxi obviously plays a support role. So Yuzi has to turn up, especially in that middle overs.
All right. All that will be something to keep an eye out for in the second innings when Punjab go about defending their target. But what can we expect in the first part of the power play of the first innings? Let's dive into our power play conversations presented by Maruti Suzuki Arena. It is Punjab batting first, that young opening pair. The last game, their first at home, saw them lose a lot of wickets in the power play. Lost the captain in the first over, 4 down inside the power play. And Shreyas Iyer said after that game that perhaps we need to guard against over-attacking. Relevant?
Well, yeah, because if you see the first over where Priyansh Arya got a beauty of a ball from Jaffer Archer, and Shreyas Iyer came, he played those 2 beautiful shots, and the shot which he got out to, that was not actually needed, and that was not the shot from the man in form. So now if he comes here, maybe in early 2-3 overs, so he just take a bit of his time and then he can really go big.
Yeah, I mean, Shreyash is in good form, and that's exactly, I mean, somebody bowling at 150 clicks can make you, do strange things. Very unlike Shreyash after hitting those 2 boundaries, but, that batting lineup looks very strong. If they get going, they can put fear into the opposition, bit like SRH, how they have started, but they misfired after that. But this Punjab lineup looks strong to post a big total.
And you feel like that batting lineup, the top order is likely to be happier with the mix of bowlers here. You don't see express pace. Chennai are very unlikely to use Pathirana at the top.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's been one of the challenges for Chennai so far this year with the ball, is sort of identifying that power play bowling partner for Khalil Ahmed, because Khalil's done actually really well, I think, with the new ball. He's been one of the few shining lights in a quiet season so far for CSK, along with Noor. But they've quite often gone to spin early. Mukesh didn't have the best of outings in his first game. It will be interesting to see whether they might consider going Pathirana early, just because of the fact that they have that, as we've said, young, uncapped Indian opening partnership, rather than the established internationals. But based on precedent, you would expect him to be held back to the second half of the innings as usual.
Would you consider that change?
Well, I think I'll go normal, to be very honest.
Okay. But that means you require a lot of the others, barring Khalil, to step up their game if Chennai are to improve their power play bowling returns.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, Mukesh has to turn up. He's a good bowler, but he's found it hard. I think he's only played 1 game last season. He was expensive there. He had a tough start here as well. He's a good bowler. He has picked up wickets. I remember when he played, when Chennai picked him up early.
Yeah.
But he needs to turn up along with Khalil.
All right. Just about done setting up this game, but let's get first innings predictions. Why don't you start us off? Punjab batting at home.
I reckon they'll make 180.
Piyush?
Yeah, I'll be somewhere around 190.
Go on, let's go big again.
I'm going to big 210.
Nice.
He's been ever so close with all his predictions. So we'll see if it's another one. Thank you for setting up this game. And I say that because we are now going to turn our attention to the game that has just finished at the Eden Gardens. 238 from Lucknow Super Giants. Only one person on the couch was giving KKR a chance. You came so close, Wasim. It's finished 238 versus 234. Kolkata Knight Riders going down by 4 runs. And strangely enough, it's actually changed in the last 6 or 7 overs, because at around the 13th, 14th over mark, you thought KKR were winning this.
Well, I think that batting order, because when you have 6-7 overs to go, you have 2 batters who known for this, to finishing off the games for you, you can't say Ramandeep. And Ramandeep last played a ball while chasing in 2023.
Wow.
So it's not easy for a batter to come in and straight away going with the run rate required, like somewhere around 11 and a half. And you have on the other hand Rinku Singh, Russell, who are used to of playing these kind of knocks. So I think that's where they made that mistake. And then after Ramandeep also, they didn't send Russell or Rinku, they sent Raghuvanshi. I know Raghuvanshi is in a good form, but he's a top order batter. It's not easy to come in and straight away go like this. So I think those 6-8 balls made the difference in the game.
Are you also joining our team as head of stats department? Because, wow. But more seriously, that batting order and the decisions that Piyush refers to.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, you can go wrong with this left and right combination. I can understand why they sent Ramandeep, but that's, it was an opportunity for him, don't get me wrong. But that's not what he's used to doing. He comes in at number, when there's 2 or 3 overs and comes and plays big shots. Rinku probably would have been the right choice at that moment. Raghuvanshi as well. I think once he doesn't bat at number 3, there's not a case for him to come before, Russell. So I think they made a small blunder there.
Yeah, because it was, I think it was 160 for 2 in the 13th. That's the point when Rahane falls. And then this batting order changes. And it's an even worse look when the man who's demoted today, Rinku Singh, has eventually finished 38 of 15.
Yeah, it's I can't really get my head around it. I think I can understand the desire to have the left-right combination because of the fact that the dimensions were so skewed today. I think 56, 57 metres one side and 70 odd the other side on the square boundaries anyway. But I think even when you consider that, I think it seems odd that you would leave Andre Russell so low. Maybe they were trying to shield him from the spin, but in the end it was spin right at the end that closed the deal for LSG. I think we'll also obviously move on to talking about their attack, but just sort of getting in there quickly, I think Digvesh Ratty has been an amazing find already. His standout figures today, 1 for 33, very cheap last over under pressure at the end. Got his mentor, sorry, not mentor, but his idol out in Sunil Narayan, who I think he met briefly before the game as well for the first time. And this might also be a rare example of him not getting fined for his celebration because he did you see it today? He changed it, so he wrote his signature on the grass rather than signalling to the batter. So he might even get some money. He might get his match fee today.
Yeah, I feel so.
That would be a good change, given the last 2 celebrations have cost him, but pick up that chat. It's firmly in the ascendancy, but Lucknow's bowling plans through the power play,
Yeah,
what did you make of that?
Well, they bowled everywhere, isn't it? They bowled to the both sides of the pitch, bowled bad lengths, and Rishabh Pant looked frustrated. So, I mean, it was Kolkata's game to lose, to be honest. Up until 13th or 14th over, it looked like they'll probably win it with 1 overs to spare. It's just those small things that they got it wrong eventually cost them the game.
You will have a feeling of having gotten out of jail, given the way the first half of the bowling effort went.
Well, as Wasim bhai mentioned, they were all over the place. The first ball in a 238-run chase, you just want to come and want to be right on the money. But you saw those 5 runs going down the leg stump. And then after that, once the field was open, they bowled still very ordinary, to be very honest, but just that there were too many runs on the board.
It's a possible limitation of having only 5 bowlers, although you look at that team sheet, there is the option of Aiden Markram.
Yeah, they could have gone about it differently. I think more generally with LSG, I think they're a really interesting and sort of quite exciting and fun team to watch because of how unusual that combination is, right? They obviously invested so heavily in 2 players in Pant and Puran. They've obviously got the 4 overseas batters, but it means that they're set up to have games that are high scoring and so far have been pretty wild. If you think of that game against DC, they had a thriller against MI, they had another good close run chase today against KKR. So I think whether or not they go on to make the playoffs, I think they will actually be an eye-catching and exciting team through this season. Looking at the scores they've posted already, 200 plus in the first game, chased 190 in 16 overs, 203 last time out against MI, and then 238 today.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean they're a hell of a side to watch in terms of adding a bit of box office flavour to a Tuesday afternoon game that could have been otherwise quite quiet.
Yeah, lots of thrillers already, thanks to Lucknow. But how do you assess them? 5 games in, a team that at the start of the season, given their bowling troubles, given the odd combination, felt like it could be a team that's struggling. At the moment, they are 3 wins and 2 losses.
Yeah, they look like they'll struggle, but they somehow, like Matt said, they found a way to win and found a way to be competitive. It looked like any score with that bowling lineup will look, difficult. But because of Digwesh and probably Avesh coming back in, they kind of squeezing in with this, small margin wins. But, credit to them for holding on to their nerves and, eventually getting the win, because eventually, in the end, these wins will matter.
And the reverse for KKR, 3 losses and 2 wins in their first 5.
Well, for today's loss, I think first of all they conceded too many. But at one point of time they looked in total control of a chase. Then they'll have to blame themselves, because it was not LSG who won the game; it was KKR who lost it.
Any consideration on the bowling front?
Well, I think it's, if you see their fast bowlers, like I always say, like what's his name, Weber Varoda is a good bowler, but when the conditions are not helping, then he becomes little easy to pick, because he's somebody who is a swing bowler. And then Harshit Rana, with his pace, and when he tries to bowl those slower deliveries right underneath the bat on a wicket like Eden, which is their home ground, he's going to struggle that way, as I feel.
Any closing thoughts?
I was just thinking the fact that the final is going to be at Eden Gardens this year, it could be the highest scorer ever.
Yeah, well, this is the venue where 260 was chased down last year. We've seen 239 almost chased down. Who knows, an IPL final with 250 being chased down, written in the stars. All right, we leave it there. Lucknow Super Giants get 2 very vital points against Kolkata Knight Riders. Absorbing thriller. The action continues. Wasim, Piyush, Matt, we'll be back in business in less than 20 overs time. Punjab off to some flyer. Wasim Jaffer again interested in his predictions. We'll pick up the conversation at halftime of Punjab Kings versus Chennai Super Kings. Be sure to join us then on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout.
How do I do it all? The Brezza gives me the power.